Big Sills! Welcome aboard. Appreciate everyone stepping in with us. I was just telling Tone, my wife hasn't been feeling uh, well, and she's been like a little bit under the weather. And so, like, yesterday was like summer camp. It was Chinese food and it was pizza. And I'm like, what? But my daughter's home for the summer from college. And I'm like, man, I thought it was like summer camp. And so I'm sitting around going, okay, so it's kind of one of those days. All right, where we go. It's all good. And I'm not complaining. I'm just like, Jesus. I'm like, there we go. Okay, we got Domino's, pizza, and we got Chinese food. I don't know. Then again, I don't traditionally start my show out like that, but I'm in a summer camp mode. So indulge me here today. All right. Latest on DeAndre Hopkins. Let me ask you something. Did you have different priorities when you were younger versus when you were older? Didn't you have different priorities? So let me ask you the number one priority on DeAndre Hopkins right now. Okay? Is it winning or money? What is your number one priority? What do you want to do? You're 31 years old in 6 days. You're 31 years old. What do you want to do? Are you the same DeAndre Hopkins of 5 years ago? Probably not. Have you lost a little bit of a step? Probably so. Do you still have those amazing hands? Yes. Why is it the easy go-to for sports media people, especially in Philly? Well, there's not enough footballs to go around. That player is not who he was. He's who he is today. There's not a team on the planet that is going to give DeAndre Hopkins a 1-year, $23 million deal. Do you know why Odell Beckham got that money in Baltimore? He's a bigger perceived star. He's going to sell more tickets in Baltimore than what Hopkins would. Look at the teams Hopkins has played for, the Texans and the Cardinals. Odell Beckham is a social media magnet. You know, he's got one of the biggest followings. The biggest followings of a non-quarterback in the NFL. Tone says for his entire career, he's played with crappy organizations, crappy ownership, and crappy quarterbacks outside of Watson. He's looking for stability at this point. That's Tone's opinion on it, looking for stability. Well, no team that's stable in their right mind would give you a 3-year contract on May 31st. Coming off of an ACL injury and you becoming 31. Who in their right mind would do that? A panic organization would. See, like I said, you're not putting all, some go, and they continue to say this. I just don't see how it could fit. So wait a minute. Let me put that statement out there one more time. I don't see how it could fit having DeAndre Hopkins on your team. If you can't figure that Rubik's Cube out, you're fired. You're fired. Now, are there going to be teams that have more of a priority need for Hopkins? Is that going to be high on? Here, I think that's a fair question. How high on the pecking order chain is that a priority for Howie right now? You know what it's probably? Here, I would say this. It's intrigued him. Watching how this guy operates, I wouldn't say, like, you know, sometimes when you walk by something, you go like this. I want that. I need that. That's something that can help me become a better whatever. You know when you go, I want that. I don't think he's there saying that. I need that. I want that. I think he says this. DeAndre Hopkins would be a luxury. How could I make it work financially, and how could I make it work feasibly for my organization to think that that would be a good move? I think he goes from that area, not from the area that most media people come from, getting to know. One of my favorite lines of all time, and I use it in my life, I try to get to yes. So if I'm Howie, I'm trying to have a positive output and go like this. One of my receivers goes down, protects me there. You know, it's kind of like the Fletcher Cox $10 million deal. Now, a couple months after them giving Fletcher Cox $10 million a year, that deal looks pretty damn impressive. I like that deal, especially with all the young players you have at the DT position, right? Looks like Howie struck gold again and made the right call. 7.5 sacks, $10 million. Fletcher's got 2 young guys. I don't know, man. That really looks like a good environment. That really looks like a great environment. And Howie's really done a remarkable job with that. So I think he probably comes from this. I don't really need it. But how could it become? You see, in my opinion, a general manager wants to get value on a player or a situation 3-1. 3-1. See, when you give A.J. Brown that kind of money, $25 million, and you give up a draft pick for him, this is what you got to get back in return. Career numbers, helping my quarterback, and being unstoppable. That's 3-1. Because all you do is, I paid him 25 for all that. That's worth it. You see, A.J. Brown is living up to his contract. That's living up to and by the way, on top of it with the cherry, you're winning. That's a 3-1 return. Let's take a look. What did he pay Reddick? $15 million? They figured out the Rubik's Cube there. He's one of the top sack leaders. He destroyed Brock Purdy in the NFC title game. He was a force down the stretch. That's 3-1 return on my investment of $15 million. Okay? That's 3-1. That's the kind of shit you're looking for. Darius Slay. Look how many Pro Bowls, all pro teams, since he made that deal with the Detroit Lions. Has it paid off and been beneficial? And they got him on a cheaper deal this year? 3-1, maybe even 4-1 return on that. Look at the return of investment he got on James Bradbury. Dude, so you got it. And it's harder with Hopkins. It is, because then we're talking about the 3-hole in the wide. Dude, if you were talking about the 2-hole in the wide receiver position, see, personally for me, if I'm DeAndre Hopkins, I might wait for the season to start and see who gets hurt. Because the receiver's going to get hurt. Then your value goes up. Then more teams panic. Wouldn't you wait? Get yourself a little more healthier and wait at least until the trading deadline? Why would you do it now? You don't need training camp. You're 31. You want to get $23 million? You're going to get $23 million near the trading deadline. Not on May 31st. Okay? Crow goes, I don't think D-Hop will fit into the Eagles' offense. Plus, he's too expensive. Crow, who's going to bid on him? You got 4 teams bidding on him. Why would 4 teams start the bidding at $23 million? Have you ever bid on a car or a house? You don't start at top dollar. You start at low dollar. You ever been to an auction? This guy thinks you're going to start, Kroll thinks you're going to start the auction for DeAndre Hopkins at $23 million. Why would 4 teams do that? Why would the Bills, Chiefs, Cowboys, and maybe Browns do that when there's only 4 teams? All of a sudden, you start at $10 million. Start there. See what happens. See what the market value is for him. The player believes he's still DeAndre Hopkins. He's not. Okay? He's not. Well, Forte, this ain't blind because we know what happened. ACL injury, he's 31, and he's not the same player he was 5 years ago. He is a game-changing player. Okay? Shit, how do you think the Cleveland Browns got Deshaun Watson? He was going to Arizona. He was going to Atlanta or Carolina. He wanted to play in the neck of the woods where he played his college ball. What did Cleveland do? They bribed him. That's how he got there. Yeah. So, do I think the Eagles are in the top 5? Top 10? But I don't think Howie can make it work. And I think those other teams, especially the Cowboys and Giants, have to have some interest in this. Okay? I would. Here's why. I got to get closer to Philly. You see, more NFC teams like Seattle. You got to get closer to Philly and San Francisco. More Philly than San Fran. Until San Francisco figures out the quarterback stuff, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. And so, yeah, to me, if you're Dallas, Seattle, the Giants, I would say this. Those are teams that have to get closer to Philadelphia. The AFC teams really don't. Well, the AFC teams could use them too. Like, I'll tell you what, I'd love to see them on the other side of Ridley down in Jacksonville. Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins, you could make an argument they got maybe a top 3 wide receiving group. He's going to make some, like, if he goes somewhere and becomes a 2, holy shit, man. If he goes to Kansas City, he would be incredible. 49ers, who's throwing him the ball? Sam Darnold? Okay. I mean, get your quarterback situation figured out in San Fran. You are a top 3 team in the NFC. But you know where your season ends? It ends either in the second round of the playoffs or in the NFC title game. You have no other ceiling other than that until you figure that thing out. Which you haven't been able to figure out but one time with Kyle Shanahan where you guys went to a Super Bowl. Okay, one thing I want to say about Howie Roseman. I was listening to the Chris Long interview that he had with Howie Roseman, and those two guys were going back and forth. I never realized, and the more you do your due diligence on him and the more you do the homework on him, the more you start to understand a little bit in his process and how he's creating that environment in there. I didn't know, for instance, that when he was put in the broom closet, he was actually traveling around Europe with R.C. Buford, the former general manager of the San Antonio Spurs, who built that dynasty into what that dynasty was with Greg Popovich. And those guys went around Europe and they were talking and they were looking at basketball guys. I thought it was interesting that he would go outside the NFL and get advice on how you run your organization. And maybe this speaks to why Doug Peterson at the end was one of the issues for Howie Roseman. You know what R.C. Buford said? It was the easiest thing I ever heard, but the smartest thing I ever heard. You know, Howie goes, how did you build these great teams in this dynasty with San Antonio? You know what he said? I hired people that I wanted to go to work with every single day. People I wanted to be around every day. And it made work enjoyable. Now, you have to be talented, of course. You're not going to be in those buildings unless you're not talented. But I thought for me, God, isn't that simple? Hire people you like to be around. Hire people that you enjoy going to work with every day. And one thing that has caught my eye over the last 3 years covering the Eagles is that is the environment at NovaCare. Everybody enjoys going to work because you know why? You hear the players saying it. You hear coaches saying it. You see positive energy. What's the thing we talk about all the time? Momentum. You see the momentum that the Eagles have, even after a Super Bowl loss. I thought it was really a poignant moment when I heard him say that to Chris, that, man, I'm hiring people now that I enjoy being around. Dude, people can have opinions. I'm sure he values a lot of people's opinion in the building. But that's what's changed the culture in Philadelphia since Andy Reid left. They've learned so much from Chip Kelly. There must have been so much hatred in that building for Chip Kelly that listening to Chris Long and Howie Roseman talk about, dude, you got to have people in the building everyone enjoys being around, or it's going to be counterproductive. You don't want to go to work. You despise the people that are in the cubicle next to you, in the locker next to you, the whole 9 yards. So no wonder they were very protective of Jalen Carter when that media guy went after him. Because can you imagine the people that have gone and done their work and have done all the homework on Jalen Carter to have some guy who didn't do any due diligence but maybe ask the position coach or some media guy down in Georgia about Jalen Carter and who he is, to get such a lame, outlying lying like that was probably insulting to them because of all the people that do their work and count on one another and trust one another. I thought it was a great interview. We took a lot of things away from that too, and we're going to have some topics here in a second on it, how he made some comments. But to me, R.C. Buford, I see it. R.C. Buford, I would say this point to you. R.C. Buford, Greg Popovich, the Patriots, they have a lot in common with one another. All role players, everyone knew their role when they came into the building. Everyone enjoyed going to work. You can't have that kind of success and not enjoy going to work every day. You just can't. It's not possible to show up. Dude, you guys know this. Working in your own lives. You guys just can't show up and go, hey, this is a really great place, and put a stupid face on knowing full. I've done that. And I'll tell you this. I said this to you before. I worked in Miami at WQAM for the market manager that you have in Philadelphia. I hated 99.9% of the people in that building because that environment sucked. I was at Clear Channel for 14 and a half years. I hated one guy. I loved 99% of the people, even out the door. 99.9% of the people. And I was there 14 and a half years in one job. And I enjoyed it. I was there 11 months and I hated my life. And I made twice as much money because the one guy in the building made the place unbearable. Happens. Places around in sports that is so essential. And to hear Howie talking, okay, and to hear Howie talking, how the environment is like that at the NovaCare Center, okay? Steve goes, but did 99% love you? That's not important whether you like me or not. It's important that I like you, Steve. I don't give a shit if people like me, because if I cared about who likes me, I would never love myself. And in this profession or in anything in life, you've got to have the confidence in yourself. Dude, I'm not here looking for people to love me. I'm looking for people to watch me and have fun here. If I cared about what people thought, I'd be in a mental home. Okay? That for me is the most. I learned that a long time ago in this business. If I cared what people wrote on social media or what people said about me, I'd be a basket case and I'd have been out of this and people would have beat me. You're not beating me. You can't beat me. You can't. You cannot beat me. You won't. Not happening. I beat myself. Yes. That's the only person that's beat me. has been me. Okay. I sound like I'm crying. Sorry. Yeah. I don't. Hey, I sound, for some reason, I just went off the rails. Okay. Anyway, I heard something on that interview with Chris Long that I have to ask you this. Okay. What was the best team that Howie Roseman has been general manager for? And I'm going somewhere with this new 2017 or this last year team. Okay. Dan just had a shroom flashback. Okay, sure. What was the better team? The 2017 team or the 2022 team? He beats himself. I got it now, Takeem. Thank you very much. Such a Philadelphia sports fan and so in the gutter, but I do love it. Yeah, Neil's asking me if I'm, yeah, man, don't worry. No, we're good. It's all good. I'm sorry I went there now. Michael goes last year. A couple more responses. The team that won the Super Bowl, Brian said. Okay, the Super Bowl team. Interesting. 22, says JM. Howie's answer was correct. 2017, because they won it all. That is the common thought process. Okay, last year's team, 17 coaches. Okay, enough here. I got enough here now. So let me ask this question now. Do you have to win a championship to really know what team is better or was better? You had one game, one weekend of the year where a team was better than you by about 7 minutes. And you think that determines, that 7 minutes in the Super Bowl determined what team was better? And by the way, for the record, Howie said the 17 team because he thinks like some of you. He thinks that, you got to win the chip. Do you? I mean, do you look at Dan Marino and say that Trent Dilfer's a better quarterback than him because he won a Super Bowl? Or that Joe Flacco is better than Dan Fouts because they didn't win? Or Charles Barkley? So are you trying to tell me that you think let me see, Sam Jones is a better basketball player than Charles Barkley? I mean, right? We need a chip is all that matters. Really? So 7 minutes of a football season that the Eagles didn't win the Super Bowl in 2022, in your opinion, means that the 17 team was better than the 22 team because of 7 minutes in a ball game. Yet you gave up 500 yards in total offense, well over 500 yards in total offense versus Tom Brady. Okay, it's Brady. Got it. The GOAT. So that's a good point, Bob. So you think the Buffalo Bills going to 4 straight AFC championship games and winning them, losing 4 Super Bowls, they're not one of the greatest teams of all time. A field goal. You think that the Giants were better. Or a missed field goal. A missed field goal. And that Buffalo Bills team, who won 4 AFC titles, is not considered one of the greatest. Why else play, 11 says. I think it's a great question. I do. So you guys think that 2014, let me ask you this one. You think the 2022 team Or do you think the 2014 was better? You were playing Brady, too, in that 4 game. Okay, you were playing Brady. And that thing, too. Okay. By the way, Chris Long said last year's team was better than the Super Bowl team. Last year's team, he said, was better. Said it, they were more dynamic on defense. They had better playmakers than they had. But Howie went, you guys won it, though. I kind of sided with Chris. I don't think 7 minutes decides whether or not you – dude, if you got blown out in that game and it was evident – how many people really believed that Kansas City was the better team? Why do I come away from that Super Bowl 58, thinking that the lesser team won the Super Bowl? Kansas City, in my opinion, is not a better team than you. They had a better night than you. Can we do that? And some of you are going to go, Sills, you have all. No, I'm asking, because I thought it was a great debate. So you trying to tell me, really, that you thought the best team won that Super Bowl? Did you think the best team won that Super Bowl? I do not. That's probably what really kills you in there a little bit more. Because you kind of know in your heart, you're like, that team is not better than that team. How about this? You know what's great about the NBA playoffs, which start tomorrow? Dude, in a 7-game series, you'll get who the best team is. I mean, at the end of the day, and some would go like this. So wait a minute. Here's another one for you. So do you guys really believe that the Miami Heat are a better team than the Boston Celtics? Or hey, the Heat versus the Nuggets. You would look at the Nuggets and go, the Nuggets are superior. I don't know. Robert Horry's got 7 rings. He's got more rings than Larry Bird. He's better? You think Robert Horry's a better player than Larry Bird? Or LeBron James because he's got more titles? Well, he's got more titles than LeBron. He's got 7 championship rings. Is he better than Tim Duncan? I wonder if it matters more individually than it does team-wise. I think your 2022 team is the best assembled, talented roster I've seen. I'm trying to think of the best rosters I've ever seen. In the salary cap era, give me a better team than the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles in the salary cap era. Salary cap. The Colts Super Bowl, Freeney, Harrison, Wayne, Dallas Clark, Peyton Manning, Bob Sanders. That's a pretty good roster. Plus the running back was Edgerrin James. No, it was was it Edgerrin James? I think it was James, right? Rams. They had Falk and Warner, 2 Hall of Famers. Jeff Saturday was on that Colts team. Seattle Super Bowl. Seattle had a great football team. Lost to the Steelers. Buccaneers. That salary cap 2002? 2001, the Bucks. Whew. Sapp, Brooks, Ahanitu, Simeon Rice, Barber, Lynch, Allstott, Ward Dunn, Keyshawn. But it's a good football team. That's a good football team. That's a good football team. So you guys do believe that you have to have the championship chip to call yourself the best. Okay, I don't think you're wrong. Here's where I come from this, because I kind of tied it in. My 1987 national championship Miami Hurricane team was nowhere near as good as the team the year before when Penn State upset us. They were not better. I can't usually say that publicly, but when I heard Chris Long say that, I'm like, dude, the next year, it was all of our backups that won the national title. They were all of our backups. Any positions that they had were our backups. We were a better team, but that night we lost. Circumstances were crazy, but we lost still. It's an L. The next year we won it, undefeated. But I will always contend that the year before we had the better team. Shit, I would even say that 2001 Hurricane National Championship team, I don't think it was better than the 2002 team that lost to Ohio State in the national title game. I think that team was better than the 01 team. And the 01 team put a bunch of guys, they almost put as many guys as we put 65 guys in the pros off an 83-man roster at Miami in my 86 team. My 86 team put 65 guys in the pros. Juniors, seniors, sophomores. Okay? So I liked when I heard Chris Long say that. He was like, so, he was talking to Howie, and he was saying that, I thought I think the 2022 team was better. It's just here. Does this sound better, Tone? The 2022 team was a better football team than the 2017. The 2017 team is more accomplished. They're more of an accomplished team because they won the Super Bowl. The 2022 team was the better unit, I think. Okay? Foles played out of his mind, but Hurts played out of his mind all year long like that. And it was one guy on the horse. It wasn't two dudes. It was a whole different thing. So the 17 team is the most accomplished team in Philadelphia Eagle history. Plus, they won 17 games that year. I mean, they won 17 games. But the 2022 team had the most talent on it. It was the most talented football team, the Philadelphia Eagles. If someone goes, Sills, what's the most talented football team in the Super Bowl era that the Eagles have ever had? It would be the 22 team. More than the 04 team, the 17 team, the 80 Super Bowl team, the McNabb Super Bowl team. I would say that, to be fair. Okay?